a chance at diplomacy, a critical meeting getting underway in Geneva between Iranian and European officials. This comes as President Trump says he's going to give up to 2 weeks to decide whether the U.S. will get involved in military strikes against Iran. With us now, Max Boot, a senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Max, thanks so much for being with us. This chance at diplomacy here, what is it you think that Iran could promise that maybe should keep the U.S. from getting involved or should be enough to stop this conflict?
Well, at this point, I think what Iran needs to promise is to give up all of their nuclear enrichment, to give up their entire nuclear program. The question is, are they going to be willing to do that? And I would probably say the likelihood is that they will not be willing to do that even now, even when they're under assault from Israel. But I think that has to be the ask, and that's a greater ask than what they were willing to give up in 2015 during the original Iran nuclear deal.
It's interesting because giving up all enrichment they've said no. They said they won't give up all enrichment, but it's just for civilian use, is what they said. But it does seem increasingly that even some Democrats, Chris Coons, who I had on before, look, he's not calling for military action, but he is saying Iran should agree to give up all this nuclear enrichment here. This now seems to be something that more and more people are coalescing around.
I agree. More and more people outside of Iran,
right.
Whether the Iranian leadership is willing to give this up, I still have my doubts. And, if they're not, then that's going to leave us with some very unpleasant choices because, yesterday, basically, President Trump punted for a couple of weeks, quote unquote, his decision about whether to use force. But the reality is Israel cannot bomb the Fordow nuclear complex, which is the crown jewel of the Iranian nuclear program. They cannot bomb it into destruction. The only way to do that is with a U.S. attack. And even there's not a guarantee that it'll work.
I want to come back to that notion in just one second, because I think that's an important question to ask. But first, on the idea of negotiations, is there anything that Iran could promise that would make Israel accept that they're not enriching uranium? In other words, is there a deal you think that could be reached that would be acceptable to Israel? Forget the United States for a second.
Well, I think the deal that would be acceptable to Israel would be if Iran, in fact, promises to give up all of their enrichment capacity and also has very intrusive international inspections. That's what was being demanded before, but that's what Iran has never been willing to give up at the negotiating table. And we just have to see if the current Israeli attack has changed the calculus for Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei.
Okay, and then back to that question, which I think is a really key one here. It is said that the United States has the only capability to bomb the Fordow Nuclear Enrichment Center, the only bomb that can get deep inside the ground to do it. But how much of a guarantee is it that even if the U.S. does use that weapon, that it would end the Iranian nuclear program?